Hi, warm welcome to you on watching my views and news. Some news stories. First one is about allegations regarding the alleged involvement of Tigray soldiers in the military operation ongoing against Fano in the Amhara region. These accusations are intensifying now. What are Amhara news outlets, Amhara journalists claiming? We'll have a look at 4 different claims made by Amhara journalists and activists about involvement of Tigray fighters in the military operation in Amhara. Secondly, it seems that the Eritrean opposition festival attackers are getting under the skin of Eritrean government. Eritrean Information Ministry has issued a statement criticizing Western news outlets about the incidents involving attacks on the Eritrean festivals. And lastly, Ethiopia is interested in using a Kenyan port. A few days ago, some Ethiopian news outlets claimed that PM Abiy at a meeting with Ethiopian businessmen said that Ethiopia wanted to have access to a neighboring country's port by dialogue or by force. No signs of use of force, but Ethiopia is in talks with Kenya reportedly. Firstly, viewers, when military operation was launched against Fano fighters in the Amhara region, several weeks ago, no one said a word about any involvement of Tigray soldiers, Tigray fighters in the military operation. But when we saw that the military operation expanded and large-scale fighting erupted, and from some fronts, Fano fighters had to retreat, then we saw start of this campaign that Tigray is involved. We have seen 4 allegations so far. One allegation was that a man from Tigray helped Ethiopian Air Force in conducting drone strikes on Fano. The man shared coordinates of the place with Ethiopian Air Force. I did a video on that. I said that drones don't operate in this manner mostly. That was a rumor, or that was just a piece of false information. Secondly, second claim was that Samre, Tigray youth group members, TPLF youth wing members, carried out an attack on Ethiopian National Defense Force and Fano fighters on Matimma. Matimma is border crossing on Sudan-Ethiopia border, Amhara-Sudan border. And it was reported that ENDF and Fano fighters were involved in clashes there. Then Samre attacked from Sudan, and ENDF and Fano joined hands to confront the attack from Sudan by Samre. Again, it is not understandable. Why would Tigray fighters attack ENDF and Fano while they're clashing, while they're involved in clashes? What do they have to gain from in this attack? So, I mean, they could be supportive of Ethiopian National Defense Force, but we cannot say they want to attack both parties, ENDF and Fano in Amhara. So again, several groups are operating on Sudanese soil. Kemets are there, Gumas are there, maybe some Ola elements too. Again, for me, that claim was not convincing. Kemets have been carrying out attacks on and near Matimma from Sudanese soil. I don't see the involvement of Tigray fighters in attack on both ENDF and Fano from Sudan. Second claim. Third claim was about Kobo. Messi McConnell this morning claimed that Tigray TPLF fighters were protecting prisons in Kobo. And these are the prisons where Amharas are being kept. They are being arrested, detained, and kept in these prisons. Tigray fighters are protecting, guarding these prisons. I said earlier in a video that maybe Tigrayan speaking members of Ethiopian National Defense Force could be operating once again, because they were sidelined around 2 years ago. They were detained when Tigray war broke out. Though they were not part of the war, they were not supporting Tigray forces, but they were sidelined, they were put in prisons, and then they were released. They are part of ENDF. ENDF can call them to be involved in the military operation in the Amhara region. They are part of ENDF. Thousands of them. There could be some Tigrayan speaking members of Ethiopian National Defense Force at in Kobo. But involvement of fighters from Tigray in Kobo, it's difficult to understand. Why? Because the route between Kobo and Mekelle passes through Alamata, Koram, Vaja, then some other areas. There are Amhara forces in some places, Amhara police, East Amhara Fano fighters too. How did Tigray soldiers from Tigray manage to reach Kobo? Fourth claim was about Gondar front, that Tigray soldiers helped Ethiopian National Defense Force on Gondar front. And we know that offensive on Gondar front came from Dansha. There is no TDF in Dansha. Dansha is in Sagade. Sagade is under ENDF control. So there is no TDF in Dansha, no TDF in Volkayat, no TDF in Amhara. The ENDF convoys came from Dansha towards Gondar. They entered Gondar. How did Tigray fighters join ENDF when ENDF was on its way from Dansha towards Gondar? Obviously, it's not possible for them to join from Tigray side. There is Tekeze, and Tigray forces are on Tekeze, to the east of Tekeze. Some say from Sudan. Again, no evidence. So I would say that, again, I would say that these Amhara activist journalists must be very careful. Yes, Tigrayan speaking members of Ethiopian National Defense Force, they may be operating. They could be supporting Ethiopian National, but they're part of ENDF. They're employees of Ethiopian National Defense. But to involve Getacheau's government without evidence, it should be handled very responsibly. Without any convincing, tangible evidence, no one should make such false allegations. Because Tigray is just out of war. Tigray's relations with other groups are gradually improving. And Amharas should try to find allies if they want to continue a long struggle. They should not alienate other ethnic groups without having any convincing evidence. If they have any convincing evidence apart from verbal statements, they should make the evidence public. Secondly, viewers, Eritrean government is not happy with attacks on its festivals, several statements and tweets from Eritrean ambassadors, information ministry in the past few weeks. We know that Eritrea has suffered setbacks in Europe and North America. Several Eritrean government-backed festivals have been disrupted by Eritrean opposition members. Eritrea calls them non-Eritreans, backed by TPLF. Brigade Nihamido was formed last year by Eritrean opposition groups to disrupt all festivals. Opposition groups say that these festivals are a source of fundraising for Eritrean government, source of spreading hate and propaganda. We saw this year that in Sweden a festival was disrupted. In Germany there were clashes. In UK a festival was banned. In Canada, Brigade Nihamido disrupted a festival. In US as well, the Brigade Niham, the members tried to disrupt the festival. So that is why Eritrean government not happy. Yemeni Gebremeskel spoke, Eritrean Information Minister, a few hours ago. He said that thugs are being portrayed as heroes. Obviously, he was referring to the attackers, those who are attacking the festivals. Air Information Ministry has published an article saying that Western news outlets like AFP and France 24, they are saying that festival attackers are protectors of human rights. When there were protests in France against tax increase, those protests were termed as rebellion, and attackers on Eritrean festivals are declared protectors of human rights. So it's double standards adopted by Western news outlets, says Eritrean Information Ministry. Secondly, the ministry says that what is happening in terms of attacks on its festivals, it is terrorism. It fits with universal definition of terrorism. Terrorists are attacking Eritrean government, Eritrean festivals abroad, but they are being called defenders of human rights by international news outlets. And the Information Ministry is calling these attackers non-Eritreans. These are non-Eritreans affiliated with TPLF, according to the Information Ministry. So these Brigade Niham, the members, seem to be hurting Eritrean government. It's very clear now that Eritrean government is really concerned. It does not know how to handle these Brigade Niham, the members. Because Western governments, US, Canada, they're not happy, they're not on good terms with the Eritrean government. They know that Eritrea does not toe Western lines when it comes to regional issues. These Western countries have been supporting TPLF diplomatically, US too. So obviously, Eritrea is part of Chinese-Russian camps. And I think these Western countries and US, Canada, they have found a way of putting pressure upon Eritrean government through Brigade Niham members. And Eritrean government is almost helpless. It is unable to do something against these Brigade Niham members. That is why just statements and accusing these Eritreans of being non-Eritreans, of being backed by TPLF. Lastly, viewers, around 2 weeks ago, we heard rumors that PM Abiy said in a meeting with businessmen that Ethiopia wanted a foreign port through dialogue or by the use of force. Later, we saw a clarification from some government officials saying that Ethiopia always adopted approach of dialogue and talks, and Ethiopia would never use force against any other country. And those rumors led to speculation that Ethiopia was planning to take Assab port in Eritrea by force. But Ethiopia is in talks with neighboring countries. Alamo Seme is Ethiopian Minister of Transport. He is in Kenya on a 5-day visit. He has visited 3 ports so far: Lamo Port, Kisumu Port, and Mombasa Port. And reportedly, Ethiopia has shown interest in using Lamo Port, which can be used by South Sudan as well. South Sudan is heavily reliant on Sudan's Red Sea port. But years ago, Ethiopia, South Sudan, Kenya planned to develop Lamo port. It was decided that infrastructure should be constructed, roads, railway tracks to connect Lamo with Ethiopia and South Sudan. Then Ethiopia diverted towards Djibouti. Ethiopia is using Djibouti's ports mainly. But things seem to be changing. Ethiopia wants to diversify its use of ports. It does not want to use only Djibouti's ports. That is why Alamoseme is in Kenya. Ethiopia has shown interest in using Kenyan Lamo port. I think Ethiopia could be planning to use more than 2 ports. Maybe 1 port in Djibouti, 1 in Kenya, 1 in Somaliland. Eritrea could be considered 2.